Hi, I'm Bob Campbell with Alliance Solutions Group. And over the last 3 years, we've developed a crisis leadership and decision making course that we've delivered to over 1,000 crisis leaders throughout the United States. This was part of a program that we developed for FEMA in response to a national incident of significance. I'd like to share a couple topics from this course on helping avoid communications overload, which is a pitfall of many crisis leaders get into a situation like this. And it starts out like this. The crisis starts to escalate, and as it escalates, more and more information and data and reports and communications start coming into the crisis leader, and it becomes a distraction. And they're not able to process all of that information that's coming in, or the data or the communication, in a way that is meaningful to help them gain better situational awareness. And so a couple ways to help the crisis leader better organize and structure that information. I could provide a couple inputs from this course. First, the brain can only handle so many pieces of information, and this is what is often referred to as the myth of multitasking. The brain can actually do two things at once pretty good and improve your efficiency and productivity. But if you try to do three things or four things at once, the brain can't handle all of that information and those things constantly. And so your brain is constantly switching from one thing to the next. And as it winds down from one thing, it's got to wind up for the next thing. And you lose time, and it creates inefficiencies and loss of productivity. And so how do you deal with this, especially in a crisis when a lot is happening? Well, your goal is to maintain as good situational awareness as you possibly can. And so what a crisis leader needs to do is establish a method for gathering, synthesizing, and receiving information to help them make decisions on a consistent cycle. And those that work for them or support them can help by presenting that information and organizing that method so that things are coming in at a certain pace. And the second thing to do is to avoid unnecessary details, but instead focus on the relevant information. So anybody that's reporting into a leader during a crisis should refrain from trying to put the whole story in details. They need to get right to the point up front, provide the bottom line, and essentially give them what's essential to making the decision and improving their situational awareness, not all the useless details that are unnecessary. You're never going to make that crisis leader an expert in every possible area or alternative that's being considered, but the relevant information is key, and so focus on that. Third, the crisis leader can delegate or appoint staff members maybe over different topical areas, or for example, in the incident command system, the incident commander has general staff and command staff, each with a specific role to present information to that incident commander or decision maker to navigate through the crisis. So having those proper channels and chains of command are pretty important to the crisis leader's sanity and being able to weed out extraneous information that doesn't need to roll through those key personnel. And lastly, when it comes to making a decision, those providing information to a crisis leader should be providing them with several courses of action, explaining the pros and cons of each course of action, any associated risks that go with that, and what the projected impacts are of making that decision. Because each decision that is made will incur additional residual risk that goes with that decision, and will need to get reassessed again. But ensuring that that is fully understood and presented to the crisis leader to make a better decision is essential. I hope these tips are helpful. Again, my name is Bob Campbell with the Alliance Solutions Group.